Discover the incredible world before the flood, revealing God's divine plan for redemption. In the days of Noah, mankind's wickedness had reached its zenith. The Lord observed the earth, and his heart was filled with sorrow as he witnessed the great extent of humanity's depravity. In those early years of the ancient land of Mesopotamia, amid the powerful rivers Tigris and Euphrates, the shadow of despair loomed over cities alive with revelry and greed. The laughter of the townsfolk echoed, masking the cruel hearts hidden behind their facades. Yet amidst this chaos stood Noah, a righteous man, blameless in his generation. He walked with God, a profound testament of faith, as he embraced the call that rippled through the very fabric of heaven. Each morning, as dawn broke behind stained windows, the light illuminated not just his humble dwelling, but also the conviction in his spirit. God's voice beckoned Noah, commanding him to build an ark, a vessel of salvation designed to preserve life. As he began this monumental task, gatherers of timber from ancient trees, men and women mocked him. "Fool," they screamed, "there is no rain, the heavens will not break open." Yet each swing of Noah's axe carved through both wood and doubt, echoing with a prophetic proclamation that would challenge the very essence of humanity's faith. Day after day they scoffed, but every plank laid called forth prayer. Each nail driven resonated like a beacon in a storm-tossed sea of depravity. The inhabitants of Shinar, the very plains where men dared to reach for the heavens with a great tower, were now deafened by their pride and arrogance. Yet Noah, in stark contrast, vowed not to rise with the heavens in defiance, but instead to bend low, pouring his spirit into the ark, trusting in God's unfailing promise. The redemption of creation hung in the balance as this simple man labored with sweat, determination filling his heart. Noah's family joined him in his labor. His wife, his 3 sons, and their daughters-in-law lent their hands in unity, sharing not just the labor, but the burden of faith. With each hammer stroke, they forged a sanctuary, a pledge to the Almighty, hoping the ark would be a cradle for not only their family, but the very essence of hope and renewal. As the sun set in strokes of crimson above the horizon, a storm darkened the skies, a gathering tempest mirroring the world's contempt for Noah's unwavering resolve. Some sensed the impending judgment of the Lord hovering, but most continued their revelry, blind to the consequences that awaited. Outwardly they basked in ignorance, yet how would they respond when the rains at last poured down? Would they see the truth in the clouds gathering overhead? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now, let's continue with what the Lord did next. Through the processing of labor and the rising storm, Noah's heart clung to the holy promise planted by God as he looked towards the horizon. How would the Lord intervene? Would the people discern the mercy cloaked in the trials ahead? Noah remained anchored in faith, believing that beyond the flood, a covenant of life awaited, an unspeakable promise that only God could fulfill. And as the clouds thickened, the divine mystery of God's intentions loomed ever nearer. What awaited the world in the depths of the coming storm? As the rainless skies darkened, Noah continued his work upon the ark, unyielding in spirit despite the growing turmoil. Each day the mockers grew louder, casting scorn at the architect of salvation. They gathered in numbers, spewing derisive laughter as he, accompanied by his family, toiled under the looming shadow of judgment. Yet through their taunts, the resolve of Noah was further confirmed. The voice of the Lord rang clear in his heart. "For thus I have established a covenant with thee and thy sons after thee." Genesis 9:9. Then came a day when the horizon trembled with a shift heavy with foreboding. Noah's hands were calloused but steady, having worked for countless years on the vessel. The ark stood tall and solemn, a witness to his obedience and a foretelling of the impending deluge. It was then, while summoning strength from within, that the first drop of rain fell, a single tear from heaven. In a fleeting moment, as that solitary droplet splashed against the parched earth, the land stood still. The laughter of men faltered, their expressions shifting from joviality to confusion. As the sky unleashed its sorrow, torrents began to pour forth, and the once disregarded figure of Noah now appeared formidable in faith. "Come, my family, this is the time," Noah urged, with the urgency of a prophet sending forth a warning. His wife, along with their sons and daughters-in-law, understood the gravity of the hour. Together, they hastily gathered provisions and animals, hesitant yet compelled by his unwavering trust. Meanwhile, the people of the plains were awash in bewilderment. The sun had disappeared behind the clouds, and with it, their laughter was drowned by the roaring winds. It seemed the earth itself quaked, and they could no longer ignore the foreboding signs. Frantic whispers spread like wildfire as they fled to higher ground, abandoning their revelry to seek shelter from the deluge. But Noah remained steadfast. He led his family into the ark, the wooden doors looming like a tomb, a sanctuary shielding them from certain destruction. As he sat among the gathered essence of creation, Noah looked to heaven with a heart laden with sorrow for those outside. "Oh, Lord, may the hearts of men be turned to you before it is too late," he prayed, knowing that the flood would serve as a deep separation between righteousness and unrighteousness. And just as the doors of the ark closed, a final warning echoed through the tempest. Those who had spurned the call of repentance now faced the reality of their choices. The skies opened wide, and rain poured in abundance. From the earth's deepest caverns, the waters surged forth as the great flood began to rise, engulfing all that remained outside the confines of the ark. Months passed, and each new day blended into the next, the rolling waves undulating beneath Noah and his family. While they rested in the safety of their appointed refuge, there emerged a deeper revelation. Amidst the destruction, God was establishing a new beginning. As the waters churned and darkness enveloped the land, the promise flickered like a steadfast flame in Noah's heart. It was a sign that after the storm, the resurrection of the earth would dawn. He felt the weight of hope resting heavily on his soul, for the Lord had not forgotten his creation. Even amid despair, God's sovereign plan was unfolding beyond all comprehension. What redemption awaited beyond the flood? And would the world recognize the grace that would emerge after the storm, as Noah's faith bore witness to the miracle of divine renewal? Tension mounted, leading to a revelation shrouded in mystery. Was there more to come, a greater promise glimmering like hidden treasure beneath the surging waves? As the waters continued to rise, shrouding the earth in a heavy shroud of sorrow, the ark bobbed upon the furious waves like a solitary island of hope. Each creaking timber bore witness to the weight of anticipation and the size of creation. Within, Noah and his family shared the intimate space of desperation and devotion, their hearts beating in unison, fervent in prayer. "Methuselah, the age of our ancestors has departed," Noah murmured, recalling tales etched in the memories of his father and grandfather. "Yet we are here, a remnant, tasked with a divine purpose." His son gazed with wide eyes, the flickering lantern casting shadows as palpable as their fear. "And what of the earth, father?" Ham asked, wrestling with the fraying edges of courage. "Will it ever breathe life again?" Noah lifted his gaze, steadied by faith that transcended time and turmoil. "The Lord has promised, just as he breathes into existence the dawn, so shall he renew the earth that has been undone." In that moment, the storm peaked. Winds howled as if mourning a world lost to sin. Yet, in the tumult, God's voice resonated in the spirit of Noah. "For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth, to destroy all flesh wherein is the breath of life from under heaven." Genesis 6:17. His mind flickered back to the warnings of the Lord, words woven into the very fabric of the ark's purpose. Days turned into weeks, and the rhythm of the tide became both lullaby and lament, sustaining their souls while drowning the cries of countless souls who had rejected the Creator. One day, as twilight descended, a calm swept upon the waters, and the family gathered to pray. Noah, feeling the solemn weight of leadership, lifted his voice over the murmuring waves. "O Lord, you who know the hearts of men, we beseech you for mercy. May this deluge cleanse the earth. May it cleanse us. Renew the spirit of mankind, so they may call upon your name." As he finished, a profound stillness enveloped the ark, holding within it the torrential chaos outside. With this silence came a strange assurance. God was watching. The pairings of the animal kingdom nestled close, their instincts woven by the hand of the Creator. Each heart within the ark, though fearful, pulsed with faith, and together they sank into prayer, binding their fate to the Almighty. Days stretched into an endless horizon, the rain subsiding into a soft patter against the aged wood. Hope dawned in the spirit of the faithful, as Noah began to consider the promise of the rainbow that would emerge as a testament of God's covenant. Would there come a time of renewal? The sun peeked through thick clouds, casting a glow upon the waters. In that moment, something stirred within the hearts of those in the ark, a whisper of destiny unfolding, for the Lord was planning an abundant harvest. So let it be. Yet within this serene hope loomed the echo of ominous shadows. What awaited them as dry land emerged from the depths? What heart would emerge revived, and what souls might remain seared by disbelief? The flood was a womb, protecting the seed of future generations amid tumult, and from that seed a new covenant awaited to be revealed. And so it was. In the swirling depths of uncertainty, the true promise of the Lord awaited just beyond the horizon. The earth would soon reveal its face again, but Noah, steadfast in spirit, felt the weight of a greater plan, the beginning of a tale more profound than the storm itself. And those who would arise from the waters would not only inherit a renewed earth, but bear the mark of grace bestowed by the Almighty. What then would become of the children of this new era when the old would wash away? Would they listen to the lessons of the flood, or would they too walk in folly? As the days turned into 40 and the waters roiled beneath, a somber weight settled upon Noah and his family. No longer did they hear the cries of the world outside, only the rhythmic sound of droplets tapping against the ark. Each thud felt like a reminder of grace intertwined with judgment. Laboring in prayer, they sought the Lord's direction, their hearts yearning for clarity amidst divine silence. "Father," Shem whispered one evening as twilight embraced the ark, "will the world remember us? Would the name of Noah be spoken amongst them that remain?" His voice trembled, imbued with the weight of legacy and loss. Noah, deep in thought, fixed his gaze on the flickering flame. "The world and its ways have passed beyond save for us, my son, but we must trust that the story of our obedience will carry through the seeds of future generations. God has etched his covenant in the hearts of men. Those who heed his word shall know our name, preserved in the annals of faith." Within, the Spirit of the Almighty stirred, nudging Noah toward hope's fragile flame. The floodwaters represented both ruin and restoration. He who destroys is also the one who redeems. Then, as a new day broke upon their weary souls, a distinct stirring arose from the depths. The ark trembled slightly, as if announcing the coming of a transition. It was then that Noah sensed the keen anticipation of the unseen. He perceived that God was up to something great beyond the horizon, though the timing remained shrouded in mystery. Noah, emboldened, resolved to send forth a raven. He called to it, watching as the black-winged creature soared into the nebulous expanse. It became a symbol of both absence and promise, a harbinger of what might come. Days stretched as the raven flew back and forth, until one fateful morning Noah sent forth a dove, hoping it might find a resting place and return with news of hope. As the dove winged its way into the unknown, a hush fell over the trembling family, each heartbeat marked with prayer. "May it be so, O Lord," Noah implored. "May it find a sign of your new creation." When the dove returned in the evening, its beak bearing an olive branch, the heart of Noah leapt within him. "For I have seen the promise of your restoration," he proclaimed, strength renewed within his spirit. The olive leaf, a signal from the depths of chaos, whispered of hope unfurling against despair. The family rejoiced, hearts pounding in celebration of a favored fate the Lord had bestowed upon them. "Truly, the waters are receding," Noah declared, as the truth dawned upon him that life was returning to the earth. Yet amid their rejoicing, a lingering thought wove its way through Noah's mind. What would be the nature of this renewal? Would they understand the profound grace bestowed upon them, or would they fall back to their ways of unrighteousness, as the generations before? As the sun illuminated the ark, revealing the droplets glistening upon its surface, the future lay before them like a promise whispered by the Creator. They were chosen, but also faced the weight of their calling. Within the sacred stillness, the voice of God resonated deeper than the crashing waves, weaving through time and spirit. "This day marks the awakening of my new covenant, a covenant of grace extending to all nations." Noah paused, the air heavy with awe and anticipation. He could feel the heartbeat of generations yet unborn, the hands of future laborers who would carry forth the divine promise. What then would their hearts reveal when faced with the choice of obedience or folly? Thus, as a new dawn approached, the question lingered. They were but the remnant, yet God's plan was far greater than the ark itself. What symphony of redemption awaited to unfold upon the earth? The answers hung in the balance, promising to unveil the depth of God's unwavering love. As the days melted into one another, Noah's heart was both heavy and hopeful. The olive branch brought joy, yet the weight of tomorrow lay upon him like the very storm that had carved the heavens asunder. In the quiet corners of the ark, thoughts raced through his mind, each one a prayer, each one a ponderance. "What must we do, O Lord?" he beseeched, the flickering flame of hope igniting in the dim recesses of his spirit. "Go forth," a voice whispered within, resonating as if the winds themselves had spoken. Shem, Ham, and Japheth gathered around, their faces etched with curiosity and apprehension. "Father," Ham ventured, his voice cutting through the silence, "what does this mean? Shall we prepare to leave this sanctuary, to tread upon the earth once more?" "It means, my son," Noah replied, "that God has deemed it a time of renewal. We shall wait for his command, and then we shall step forth into his promise." Days drifted into weeks, the rhythm of life within the ark maintaining an unsettling tranquility as they awaited further signs. Each morning greeted them with the soft sound of ebbing waters. Each evening cloaked them in the embrace of whispered prayers. Then, on the 40th day, a gentle wind swept through the ark, a breath of the Almighty, stirring within them the knowledge that the waters were subsiding. Noah's heart swelled with both dread and anticipation. Under the veil of twilight, he climbed to the roof of the ark, yearning to gaze upon the world transformed. The mountains, once submerged beneath tumultuous waves, began to emerge like ancient kings reclaiming their thrones, their peaks kissed by an early morning glow. "Behold, the earth is shifting," Noah proclaimed, his gaze fixed upon the horizon. "The Lord has set the boundaries of his creation once again." Encouraged, he took hold of the dove and prepared for its final flight. "Return only when you find a place to rest. Carry news that we may know our Father's heart," he instructed, steadying the small creature gently in his hands. With a prayer, he cast it forth into the canvas of the sky, a tiny beacon of hope against the backdrop of ancient desolation. Each beat of the dove's wings echoed in Noah's chest, the family waiting as the skies turned dark with expectation. Hours blurred into one another until, at last, the dove appeared, landing smoothly on the edge of the ark, its beak cradling not the olive branch, but yet another sign, a sprig of new life yanked from the earth's tender embrace. "Aye!" Shem shouted, pure excitement washing over them. "The earth has awakened! The breath of God stirs anew!" Noah, overwhelmed, fell to his knees. "Praise be to the Most High! He is faithful to his word." Each member of the family joined in a circle of prayer, lifting their hearts upward. Yet, amid their praising, an anxious whisper crept back into Noah's mind. Would humanity understand this second chance? The grace they had been offered was precious, yet perilous, strengthening their resolve, yet beckoning a choice laden with consequence. As the ardor of morning glinted through the remnants of the storm, Noah sensed a new command, an affirmation coursing through his veins. In silence, the promise unfurled its wings. "Go forth and multiply," he recalled, the words spoken unto him. But deeper within, an even greater mystery lamented, a question that echoed through the ages. Would mankind be a steward of this renewal, or a thief of grace? Thus they stood, poised on the threshold of a new beginning, the sky above them saturated with divine promise, yet filled with uncertainty beneath. What legacy would they carve from the clay of their hearts? What heights and depths awaited those who ventured into the world anew? The revelations were but whispers on the wind, mere shadows of the sovereign will unfolding. And so, it was within this moment of holy expectation that the stage was set, not just for their lives, but for the very redemption of creation itself. What awaited them once they stepped into the realm of God's covenant? As the dawn broke upon the still waters, Noah rose with a heart steeped in solemn anticipation. The time was at hand. The ark, a vessel of divine refuge, had sheltered them long enough. With each step upon its wooden floor, he sensed the weight of the world pressing upon him, and his spirit stirred, responsive to the Lord's call. "Gather your families," he commanded gently, his voice steady despite the tumult within. Shem, Ham, and Japheth nodded, sharing glances of both dread and hope. Their wives approached, eyes wide with the promise of the new day, uncertain of what awaited them outside those hallowed confines. "Today we shall behold the Lord's new creation," Noah declared, summoning courage. The vibrant colors of the sunrise painted the clouds as if proclaiming the glory of God, a canvas woven by the Creator's hand. He took his place at the entrance of the ark, the very threshold between the past and the future. With a clatter of hooves and wings, the animals stirred restlessly, responding to the scent of damp earth and fresh air. "May they return to their land," Japheth exclaimed, releasing the doves and other creatures to embrace God's will. "Noah," Shem interjected, "are we truly prepared? The earth we knew is not the same. What shadows linger in this new world?" Noah looked into his son's eyes, seeing the echoes of uncertainty. "It is before us to reclaim the gift of life and steward it with reverence and faith. God has given us this day, let we not squander it." Saying this, he stepped forward, gesturing toward the open door. As the first foot left the ark, the ground met him with a cool embrace, affirming that he was indeed alive and present in a world reborn. The earth, still moist from the deluge, exuded life, a fragrance of promises yet unfulfilled. "Come, family," he called. One by one, they emerged into the spacious light. The sun shimmered upon a landscape rich with emerald grass and wildflowers bursting forth, a silent testimony of rebirth. Yet, in the depths of Noah's heart, a solemn dread arose. The scars of destruction were yet visible, whispers of disobedience lingering in the shadows. As they took their first steps, Noah sent forth a prayer to the skies. "O Lord, guide us, make us instruments of your faithfulness." The wind carried his voice away, mingling with the cries of the restored creation. With hearts unfurling in gratitude, they began to explore this transformed world. The mighty trees stood tall and strong, creaking softly with the breeze, as if they spoke of ancient wisdom. In the distance, a river wound its way through the valley, sparkling like jewels in a host of green. "Father," Ham said, breaking the momentary reverie, "are we to build again? Shall we construct a home where the fear of the flood no longer binds us?" "Yes, my son," Noah replied. "We shall build both our dwelling and our legacy, not just with bricks and stones, but with righteousness and faithfulness unto God. We are to be a people marked by His grace." Days turned to weeks as they established their lives anew, planting fields and raising animals, worshiping the God who saved them. Each evening, the family gathered, recounting the wonders they had witnessed, while Noah preached of the covenant, the promise that they would never again see destruction like that which had befallen the earth. Yet deep within, a growing pang of concern festered. "Shall we remember," he pondered quietly, "or in our ease will we forget the God who has brought us this far?" As the stars twinkled bright above, both light and darkness intertwined in the narrative they now began to write. Could they hold fast to the Lord's instruction, to uphold His ways, and be protectors of the sacred trust bestowed upon them? Thus the journey unfolded, amidst fields of promise and the peril of human hearts, revealing the duality of grace, a gift to nurture and a task fraught with temptation. What would test their fidelity to a covenant that resided not in the ark, but in their very souls? In this reflective stillness of the evening, beneath the celestial tapestry, Noah knew the redemption of this new world was not merely in building anew, it was in choosing to reflect the image of God Himself. And so it was that they ventured forth, not just as a family, but as a beacon of hope, a remnant of grace in a world that still echoed with the remnants of the past. Yet in the wings of time, a lurking shadow awaited, a trial not yet perceived, a test of faith that would challenge the very heart of the promise. Would they stand? Would they prevail in the mystery of God's grand design? As the seasons changed and spring turned to summer, the days grew warmer and the earth thrived beneath the careful hands of Noah and his family. They toiled in the fields, sowing seeds among the rich soil, each row a symbol of hope and restoration. Yet amidst the flourishing life, a quiet unease settled in Noah's heart, for he perceived a tendency among them to stray from the covenant etched upon their souls. One evening, as the sun dipped low, casting hues of gold upon the horizon, Noah gathered his family near the newly erected altar. "Hear me," he called, the urgency in his voice resonant with divine passion. "Let us not forget the Lord our God, who has graciously spared us. We must offer sacrifices of thanksgiving, honoring Him who delivered us from the waters of destruction." His sons and their wives nodded in solemn agreement, and as the first flames flickered to life, they offered burnt offerings and sweet incense, a pleasing aroma rising to heaven. The glow of the fire illuminated their faces, revealing both the weariness of labor and the faith glimmering in their eyes. Yet, as they worshipped, a flicker of doubt came upon them. Ham, perplexed by the quietness of the night, spoke. "What are we to do when the newness of this world grows familiar? Will our hearts remain steadfast when trials may come? Will we stay true to the ways of the Almighty?" Noah, sensing the burden of his son's spirit, paused. "Fear not, for God has placed His covenant in our hearts," he replied firmly. "Remember the promise He made with us, to never again destroy the earth by flooding. Our obedience is the key to our survival. We must bear witness to His glory in all that we do." Days passed into weeks, and life continued. The family thrived amidst the creation. Yet, beyond their sight, darkness began to stir, a whisper of rebellion. Men from distant lands began to gather, their hearts hardened by vanity and pride, seeking to establish their own kingdom. As Noah observed this troubling disarray, the Lord spoke to him once more. "Noah, I have seen the deeds of man. Their hearts lean towards wickedness. It is not by flood again that I will bring judgment, but by fire in the last days." A shiver ran down Noah's spine at this revelation, for he understood the weight of the message. Overcome with fear and trembling, Noah called his family together under the vast canopy of night, where stars twinkled like diamonds.
"The Lord has revealed to me the fate of this new world. We must fortify our hearts. Temptation will be our greatest adversary." Shem, resolute, interjected, "Then let us be vigilant and steadfast. Let our hearts be an altar, a continual sacrifice of praise to the Creator, lest we succumb to the vanities that surround us." The family tightened their circle, affirming their resolve with fervent prayers. Each voice united in commitment to live righteously, to embody the hope and promise of God to a world that teetered on the edge of rebellion. Yet, as they prayed, Noah felt a tremor as if the very earth sighed beneath them. "The trials to come are unknown," he whispered, "but our faith must stand firm." His words hung like a delicate mist in the night air, resting uncertainly over their hearts. In the meantime, tidings reached Noah that a new leader had arisen among those beyond their sight, a progenitor of corruption and defiance against the very nature of God's order. The name deified in the mouths of men, his allure a treachery that could threaten the very fabric of humanity's redemption. And so it became clear. The battle was not only within themselves, but outside, in the world that beckoned them toward destruction. Would they hold fast? Their shadows mingled with the glories above, an echoing dilemma of faith and temptation as the shadows crept ever closer. What further mysteries lay veiled within God's divine plan? Darkness encroached upon the light, offering fleeting pleasures that might blind them to the truth. The question remained, would Noah's family remain a beacon of hope, or would they falter in the face of more perilous trials yet to come? Only through their adherence to the covenant would the redemption of a world rest upon the fragile thread of their faith. In the ensuing weeks, the air thickened with tension as reports of discord and folly spread like wildfire among the nations. The hearts of men grew restless, intoxicated by the whispers of the new leader, whose name was Babel, a name that echoed through the valleys and the hills. He promised wealth and power, an earthly kingdom that rivaled the heavens, seducing many with visions of glory built upon the sand. Noah, standing firm amidst the growing chaos, sought the counsel of the Lord in prayer. "O God, the Almighty, shield my family against the tide of corruption that sweeps across the lands. Do not let our hearts be ensnared by the thrill of earthly ambition," he cried with fervor, his voice echoing in the night. It was then that the Spirit stirred within him, and a vision unfolded before his eyes, of mighty towers reaching toward the clouds, of a people united in pride, yet divided from you, O Lord. The foundation they sought was not laid upon the rock, but upon shifting sands, leading to inevitable ruin. When Noah returned to his family, a grim determination enveloped him. "We shall not be like them," he declared, his voice steady. "We hold fast to the covenant of the Lord. Though they may build their towers, we shall fortify our hearts. Their end will be the fall, but our steadfastness will be our salvation." Ham listened quietly, yet a whisper of human ambition lingered in his heart. "Father, how can we ignore what we see and hear?
The world seems to thrive on their ways. What good is our righteousness if it leads only to our own isolation? Shem, my brother, do you see? Ham continued, his voice rising in fervor. Perhaps we are called to establish a presence among them, to show them the way of the Lord, to interject our light into their darkness. But Noah raised his hand, wisps of wisdom mixing with sorrow in his eyes. Nay, my sons, our path is not to blend into the shadows, but to shine with the distinct light of God's truth. We cannot barter our faith for the fleeting approval of men. As days ebbed into months, their lives became a beacon of devotion in an ever-darkening world. Each morning, they would gather at the altar, hearts unified in prayers, their voices woven together in songs of reverence. They remembered the flood, the devastation that had come upon the earth as a result of wickedness, and they resolved to emulate righteousness. Every evening, however, they would feel that unseen hand of temptation, emanating from Babel and his followers, sought to draw them into the fold. Yet every time Noah's family withstood the lure, they felt the weight of the heavens descend upon them, affirming their covenant with their Creator. Yet the days grew heavy as their resolve was tested. One fateful night, under a sky laden with storm clouds, the darkness deepened as Babel issued a decree, summoning the people to gather at the base of his tower. "Join me," called Babel, "and let us rise to the heavens. No flood can drown those who dare to defy." A surge of anticipation raced through the land as many answered his call. Yet amidst the throng, Noah's heart ached for their souls. "Oh, how they wander, blind to the truth," he cried to the Lord, grief-streaked tears tracing paths down his weathered face. "Lord, how can they be saved?" In the tenderness of that moment, the Lord spoke to Noah. "Behold, the power of the covenant shall be displayed through you. For as I saved you from the waters before, so I will call your family to be the instrument of salvation once more." With that promise, a flicker of hope ignited within him. Yet deep within the shadows, a lurking dread whispered its insidious tune. For it was not just on hearts and souls that the struggle waged. The fate of the earth itself hung in the balance. A decisive moment of divine revelation was at hand. What God had planned remained in mystery. As Noah held on to the assurance of the Lord's voice, he questioned what part his family might play in the unfolding tapestry of destiny. Was there impending calamity that would awaken the hearts of the people, or were they to stand as witnesses of grace in the face of impending judgment? Every moment whispered secrets of divine resolution. Would they truly be the last bastion of hope before the twilight of days, shepherding souls back into the light? And lo, as the days of waiting turned into nights filled with prayer, a new resolve began to blossom within Noah's family. Unity intensified among them, tethered by mutual faith and a heavenly vision. They gathered strength, praying fervently for those enamored with Babel's words, imploring God for mercy upon those who were lost. Then it came to pass that one evening, as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting a golden hue echoed from the edge of their dwelling. "Father, come quickly!" cried Japheth, breathless with awe. Noah hastened to where his son stood. There, at the foot of the hill, a great multitude had gathered, drawn by Babel's proclamations, their faces alight with the fervor of ambition. The tower loomed above them, an imposing structure of man's defiance, its stones stacked high like a challenge to the heavens. "Look, father," Japheth exclaimed, pointing. "They all believe they can reach the heavens through their works, but do they not see how futile this is against the might of the Almighty?" Noah's brow furrowed as he observed the scene before him. "Indeed, my son, they put their trust in the works of their hands, but they have forgotten the Creator from whom all things flow." Yet Ham was troubled, his heart caught in the currents of doubt. "What if they are right?" he pleaded, his voice wavering. "What if they rise and we remain here in obscurity?" No, Noah responded with the authority granted by the Lord. This is the very time to shine, my sons. We are called to live a life that declares the sovereignty of Yahweh, not to seek approval from proud hearts. For as it is written, the stone which the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118:22. As they spoke, the crowd below erupted in fervor, chanting Babel's promises of greatness. The air crackled with the energy of rebellion and ambition. Heedless of the warnings and prayers of Noah, they sought to elevate themselves above the boundaries set by the divine. In that sacred moment, the Lord's presence filled the air, heavy with warning and sorrow. "Behold, Noah, the hearts of the people are set against me," the voice of God whispered to Noah, resonating deep in his spirit. "They will not heed the wisdom of your words, for they seek only their glory." Noah fell to his knees in anguish. "But Lord, send me forth as a light into their darkness. How shall they know the truth if they do not hear the call of righteousness? How do I save a generation ensnared? In blindness? Fear not, for I am with you," the Lord consoled him. "I shall make you a herald of truth. Your desire for their salvation will be a testament to my grace as I play through you the means of redemption." With renewed strength, Noah arose, his heart ablaze with divine purpose. And so he turned to his sons, who awaited his direction with anticipation, and he spoke firmly. "Tonight we shall gather by the altar and cry out to the heavens. Let our voices rise like incense before him, that our prayers may reach the ears of the Almighty." As the family joined in earnest supplication, the winds of heaven began to stir. It was a signal that a great declaration was upon them, a foretaste of what was to come. The very earth trembled as Babel's tower soared, but within the hearts of Noah's family flourished a steadfastness that would not waver. They prayed for the land, for the lost, and for the revelation of God's plan. Out of this divine communion, a single thought arose. What if this is but the beginning of something greater? And in the stillness that followed their prayers, the heavens opened just a crack, hinting at an incomprehensible unraveling, a plan far beyond man's ambition, whispering of grace that could shatter every prideful stone that tried to reach the skies. Thus, as night enveloped the ground, Noah's heart and the hearts of his family were poised on the precipice of history, prepared to witness a profound act of God that would echo across generations. Would this conviction lead them to stand against a deluge of pride and suffering that surely approached? And lo, in the fullness of time, the Lord summoned Noah to the precipice of a new revelation. The thrumming pulse of an impending change surged within him, a divine urge that urged him forward, a call to rise even against the tide of Babel's pride. Each heartbeat resonated with the silent supplication of his family, who gathered with unwavering faith around him. "Gather the people," commanded the Lord, his voice like thunder, yet gentle as a whisper. "Proclaim the truth I bestow upon you, for the hearts of men will soon face their reckoning." Noah's spirit ignited with purpose. He understood that his family, the remnant spared from judgment, were entrusted with not just their own redemption, but the very truth that could restore the world. With tenacity, he took a step forth, his voice firm yet filled with compassion, as he prepared to deliver a message to those gathered at Babel's feet. "People of the land," Noah called, his voice echoing against the stones of the tower, "I address you not with scorn, but with grief for your blinded eyes. You seek to ascend to the heavens, but hear me, our ways are futile without the guidance of the Almighty. Come down from your heights of ambition and heed the truth of the one who walks with me. For we serve a God who desires not your pride, but your hearts." The air thickened with heaviness and silence as those below paused, incredulous. Some gazed upward, their faces chiseled with confusion, while others felt the tug of conviction deep within their spirits. Babel, however, scowled from his throne, a specter of disdain. Who is this man who dares challenge our ascendancy? Let him be silenced. Our glory will not be dimmed by outdated warnings. Yet, undeterred by Babel's threats, Noah stood resolute, buoyed by the promise of the Lord. It is not I who speak, but the very whispers of creation. A flood of mercy is upon you if you would just bend your ear to listen. Repent, turn back before the wrath of the Creator's hand falls upon you again. The throng wavered as they witnessed Noah's unwavering faith. A murmuring arose among them, some hearts softening as the gravity of his words sank in. Perhaps, they thought, this man knows a truth we have ignored. But Babel's voice sliced through the mounting uncertainty, blinding those who tilted towards understanding. Fools, do not be swayed by this relic of a forgotten age. The heavens shall tremble at our advancements, and the earth itself will bend to our will. We are masters of our destinies. Yet Noah raised his hands, invoking the heavens in prayer. O God of mercy, grant these souls the clarity they so desperately need. May they awaken to the truth that has risen from the depths of despair. For your grace is a flood that surpasses any tower built by human hands. The fabric of time seemed to pause, the dawn of realization flickering within the eyes of some, as if the clouds parted for just a moment, revealing the divine presence enveloping the scene. Come back into the fold of righteousness, Noah cried, tears glistening upon his cheeks. You were created for more than pride. You were birthed from promise. Embrace the call of the Most High, who longs to shelter you from judgment. And while many remained obstinate under Babel's spell, others felt the stirring of their own lost hope. They moved, hesitantly at first, toward Noah and joined him in fervent prayer, pleading for divine mercy. Their voices mixed with his, a symphony in a cacophony, swelling like tides pulling at the shores. In that moment, the Lord released a swift wind. A breath of unquenchable power and love surged through the crowd, wrapping around those who responded, illuminating their faces with the light of revelation. Yet Babel, percentage and pride, strode forth. Behold the compassion of the unwise. It is their fear that drives them. We shall build higher. We shall be unassailable. With his words, the malevolence of ambition glittered as men ignited to their corrupted pledge. A rumbling thunder echoed from above, the heavens responding to Babel's blasphemy with the weight of judgment. Your desire to reach the skies shall be your downfall. The voice of the Lord thundered through the hearts of men, piercing even the most hardened. For I shall bring confusion upon those who attempt to climb without the grace of my hand. As a flash of fire ignited the tower's very foundation, men screamed and scattered, terror clutching their hearts as the structure teetered. Noah, with his family gathered in unity, turned their eyes heavenward, awaiting what the Lord would bring forth. Fear not, Noah declared over the chaos. The Lord has taught us the way of salvation, not through climbing to the heavens through our doing, but in humbling ourselves before his word and trusting in his guidance. He reveals that true greatness lies in service, obedience, and love. Then, amidst the clamor, the ground trembled, and the Tower of Babel fell, shattered like glass under the mighty hand of the Creator. The curse of confusion swirled as men lost their tongues, cascading into disarray. The world would scatter, but Noah's family would rise, an ark of truth amid turbulent seas. As Noah surveyed the chaos, a stillness settled over his family, firm in their commitment to follow the path set forth by the Almighty. This event shall mark the beginning of our ongoing mission, he proclaimed, certainty weaving through his words. We are the bearers of hope, called to spread the truth far as the earth shall stretch. In that moment, their eyes shone in fervent resolve, and they prayed as the sun broke through the clouds, a magnificent light symbolizing the Lord's continual providence. The winds of change was set, a zephyr urging forth their purpose. Noah knew their task was not merely to survive, but to thrive as a people renewed, a covenant family carrying the light of his grace. And thus, life sprung anew from the fragments of judgment, an inheritance rooted not just in survival, but the promise of revival as they ventured forth to those who had pushed against God's word, seeking to reclaim the promise for all people. May we heed the echoes of this tale and reside in the safety of his unyielding covenant, joining in this mission marked by grace, through prayer, through hope, through love. Therefore, dear friends, take heart, grasp the truth, for as the days unfold, each moment is a canvas prepared by the hands of the Almighty. You too are called to rise from the ashes of despair, to carry forth the light of his promise. And now, I urge you, subscribe immediately to this channel to not miss the next powerful biblical stories that testify to God's unyielding love. Click that bell and turn on all notifications, for these truths have transformed lives across generations. Leave a like now and help spread God's word through the spirals of the algorithm. Your small act can illuminate another's heart toward grace. Comment your spiritual reflections. How did this biblical story impact your faith? Share your thoughts with us, and let us rejoice together in his faithfulness. And do not wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. You need to share it now. Only true believers understand the importance of connecting others to the source of faith, hope, and love. Every action counts in bringing many to their divine calling. Let us journey together, hand in hand, as we reveal the redemptive and transformative power of our mighty God.